Welcome to this very short tutorial on processing a single raw file using two raw files. So basically, if you didn't bracket the exposures out in the field and you want to try and pull back that dynamic range without creating unnatural halos or introducing an awful lot of noise into the image, it's possible to create two copies of the one raw file, edit those two copies, one for the highlights, one for the shadows, midtones, and blend them in Photoshop. And that's what I'm going to show you how to do now. Okay, so first thing, choose your image. So as we can see, this image was shot on the summit of Galtymore. Highlights are blown out, shadows are okay. Got some nice kind of frozen rocks in my foreground here. Got some layers of the mountains in the middle ground, and obviously I've got a nice sunrise happening in the background, but it's a bit blown out. So I didn't bracket these shots, so I want to try and rescue this image. Now the first thing I'm going to do is right click on the shot, go to create virtual copy. Okay, now we have two copies of the image we're going to work from. Choose whichever one you want to choose for your shadows, midtones, and highlights. So this one we're going to use as our shadows and midtones. Okay, so it's slightly underexposed, so I'm going to bring up the exposure just nearly a stop. Okay, I'll do a small bit of color correction on these while I'm here. So I'm going to reduce the blues just to get the blue kind of hue out of that foreground. Okay, bring up my shadows slightly. I'm going to warm up the image. I'm not going to do a whole lot here now, just to bring out those golden tones. Okay, small bit of contrast and vibrance. Okay, now for my highlights, I'm going to bring down my highlights. Okay, now if I had just brought up the shadows and reduced the highlights in the one image, it would have created probably halos around these mountains here and in my foreground. It just wouldn't look that natural. Okay, so I'm going to warm it up a bit like I done with the last time, or with the shadows exposure. Reduce my blues a bit. Now I can see I've brought those highlights down a touch too much. Okay, so I can just increase the whites here. Alright, and warmed up. Don't have to worry about the shadows here. Okay, all we're going to use this image for is the sky area here, and we'll warm it up. Go down to your hues. So I want to make that a bit more kind of red. Look, I'm gonna make this a bit more towards the pinks. Okay, just because it was a real very vibrant sunrise that morning. Okay, so there's my two exposures. There's my shadows. Choose the blacks, bring some more contrast in here. So there's my shadows, my midtones, and here's my highlights. Okay, so hold down the two of them, right click. So I held shift there, or you can hold control and select the two of them, right click, go to edit in, and open as layers in Photoshop. Okay, so wait for those to open up in Photoshop. Okay, now we're just going to do a simple blend here, really easy. Everyone will be able to do this. You don't need any extra software plugins like Raya Pro or anything like that. Okay, so place your darker exposure on top, place the brighter exposure on the bottom. Okay, because this is the one raw file, we don't need to worry about any alignment issues or anything like that. Okay, make the darker exposure invisible, put a white mask over it. Okay, now make sure the mask is selected, not the exposure, the mask. Go to image, apply image, and make sure your settings are the same as mine here. Okay, click OK. Make the exposure visible. As you can see, we've blended in the highlights. Now we have lost a bit of our highlights here in our foreground. Okay, so that's easy correct. So select B for your brush tool. Okay, make sure your brush is a bit bigger than that. I'm going to use my... Okay, go to your foreground color, which should be black, and just paint out that exposure there. And you can see we're bringing back those brighter areas that we lost in our foreground. We want to retain those highlights because those highlights are what's illuminating the different textures in the rocks. Okay, really nice and gently paint in the brighter exposure underneath, and that's it. Really easy blending two exposures from the single raw file. Any questions, let me know, and I hope everyone is staying safe during the lockdown.